Hello, everyone in PitchWars land. It's a beautiful Friday night, and we have an amazing group of adult and new adult mentors tonight. I think you're going to learn so much. I feel like I already have, and I've loved getting to know them before the show. So, without further ado, I'm your host, Nikki, but let's start with introductions here, starting with Jason.
Hi, I'm Jason Nelson. I write as JC Nelson. I'm represented by Pam Victoria of DeForio Agency. And I'm an urban fantasy author who dabbles in all sorts of things.
Laura, did you want to go next? How about Natasha? Want to take us away for a second?
Hey guys, my name is Natasha Rollerson. I am represented by the amazing Laura Bradford of the Bradford Literary Agency. I am also a freelance editor and I am a literary intern at Triada US. I am accepting all sorts of things from urban fantasy to thriller, sci-fi, literary, romantic suspense. As long as it's kind of dark, gritty, you know, got some dynamic stuff going on, I'm probably gonna love it. So I hope to see some awesome things in my submission inbox this year.
Hi, I'm Melissa Marino. I'm a contemporary romance author represented by Kimberly Brower at Brower Literary. My third book, So Wicked, just came out with Forever Romance in May. This is my first year as a mentor, so I'm super duper excited. And I'm looking for contemporary romance and women's fiction.
Hi, I'm Sarah Hawthorne. This is my first year as a mentor, so forgive me, I'm a little bit nervous. I am represented by Jessica Alvarez at Bookends Literary, and my third book, Outlaw Ride, will be coming out in February. It's a motorcycle club romance.
Hey everybody, I am represented by Patricia Nelson at Marceline, and this is for adult fiction, and I was a mentee back in 2014, so I'm super excited to be still a part of the community. My first book came out last year. It's called The Secret Ingredient of Wishes. I've got a second book coming out in February, and just really excited to see all the submissions this year. I'm looking for women's fiction, contemporary fiction, anything that's a little quirky and offbeat is probably going to be my thing.
Hi everyone, I'm Carissa Gunawan. This is my first year mentoring, so yeah, I'm very nervous right now. I live in Singapore, but I was born in Indonesia. I write literary fictions, mysteries, and I'm represented by Pontes Agency. They are based in Barcelona. My debut novel, Rainbird, is coming out next year from Soulpress in March. My wish list would be literary, mystery, and I like dark secrets, flawed characters, and of course diversity.
Sorry, having a little technical problems here. I'm Laura Brooks, Bookends Literary. Adult is also what I'm mentoring. And this is my second year mentoring, and I actually just had my second book come out with Avon, Friends with Them.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys. I'm so excited to get started tonight. And I just wanted to ask, because a few people on the feed have been asking this, how did you guys get involved with PitchWars as mentors? And we'll start with Jason.
Well, I was a alternate in I think the second PitchWars that we did. And my book got picked up there. And after that, I decided that I wanted to see if I could join in, because supposedly there were not as many male mentors, and it's been a blast. So this is the number 3.
I've been to beforehand, not so much being, actually in and picked, but I'm in the contest scene, and I learned so much involved with contests on the other side that I knew I wanted to take that step, and it's amazing. So when I got the chance to try and become a mentor, I knew that's something I wanted to do.
So I had learned about PitchWars from Agent Query Connect in 2014. Right, Nikki? That was the year we applied together? 2014. Okay, making sure I have my years straight. And so that year, we actually kind of randomly started doing these live shows just as a whim as hopefuls. And so then that kind of migrated. Nikki was amazing, got in. I didn't, but guys, that doesn't mean anything because a few months later, I had an agent for a different novel. So, you know, if you don't get it in, doesn't mean you can't become a mentor, doesn't mean anything. But I saw how much this competition did for writers, whether they got in or not. And I knew if I had the opportunity, I wanted to be a part of that.
I got involved with PitchWars. I submitted for the first time 5 years ago with my first manuscript, and I didn't get in. And then I was terrified, so I didn't try again. However, 5 years later, 3 books later, I wanted to do something and was at a retreat weekend with Brighton Walsh, who has been a mentor for the last 5 years. And I was telling her how I would love to be a mentor, to be able to give something back to this amazing community that has given me so much. And she said, well, then you should. And then I reached out to Brenda, and the rest is history. So that's how I got here.
So I have a friend named Layla Rain, who is also a mentor here. And last year, I kind of followed along a little bit, and I really wanted to apply, but I was too late. But anyway, I applied to be a mentor instead. And so I got a last-minute email from Brenda Drake. It's like, hey, do you want to be a mentor? I'm like, sure, that sounds like fun. So this is my first year.
I got involved with PitchWars back in 2014. I saw it the year before on Twitter, and it scared the crap out of me. It seemed like this huge intensive thing, and I had no clue what it was, so I didn't even think about submitting. And then the next year I was like, no, I really have to do something. I want to get involved. I want to be here. So got in as a mentee to the amazing Karma Brown. And then I roped her into co-mentoring with me last year. She was crazy busy with books, and I was like, please, I don't want to do it on my own. I'm super scared. Don't make me do this. So she was wonderful and worked with me last year. And then this year I'm mentoring on my own. But it's such a great community. I really love to give back because it's helped me so much. It's just a lot of fun to do. So I'm happy to be here again.
Okay, so actually I was a mentee at the other programs. It's Women Mentoring. It's based in UK. So actually I benefited from the mentorings, and I feel like I wouldn't be here right now without my mentor, Jenny Ashcroft. So I wanted to give back in the community, and I have some friends with a mentor. PitchWars is such like a fun community. There's a lot of online interactions, and yeah, so basically here I am, my first year mentoring.
Awesome. I just love hearing how everyone gets involved in PitchWars because, like Natasha said, like really there's no one path to any author journey in general, but especially with PitchWars. We're all a part of PitchWars, even you, like who's watching right now, and we're so glad you're here. Our next question comes from the Ask Mentor hashtag on Twitter, which if you have questions for us, please put them on Twitter. Our Twitter captain, Judy Lauren, is feeding them to us, and we'll try to get to as many as possible. Our first question is from Tasha Livingstone. For the, what is your greatest fear as a mentor in PitchWars? Have you overcome it, or are you working on it now? I think this is an interesting one for all of us to think about, because I think as writers we all do have fears, especially when we're trying to help. So let's start with Natasha.
So my biggest fear is that I'm really not qualified to be doing this. That, you know, because we're always learning, and no matter what, even if you're published or whatever, you're still learning new stuff every day. And I just want to make sure that I do have to my mentee, and I want them to be realistic in the goals that we set for ourselves. And I just want to make sure that I can be the best mentor for them to take them to the next level that I can be. And I'm terrified of somehow failing and not doing that.
My biggest fear as a mentor, I think, would have to be disappointing somebody or hurting somebody's feelings on accident. we are all authors ourselves. We know these are your babies. We know how much work and time you have put into it, and we respect that. So no matter if you get picked or not, or you think you're close, we're never doing it to hurt anybody's feelings. We're not saying that your work is crap, you know. It's just what fits best for us. And going with what Natasha said, once I do pick somebody, I'm just super hopeful and nervous that we work well together, and I can help them as much as I can.
I think, again, kind of following what everyone else has said, you know, just making sure that I work well with the people who I'm mentoring, or the person that I'm mentoring. And also just getting submissions. This is my first time. I'm like, no one's going to send me anything. But I have been assured that that is not the case. So hopefully I will find someone that I can work with.
I think for me, it's along the same lines as Natasha. I'm really worried that I'm going to disappoint the person that I pick. It's one thing to have a book out and to know that you believe in it and people are buying it, or you've got an agent, or you're working on it. But it's another thing to have somebody think that you know everything. And I think sometimes the mentors are seen like they know everything, and we're still learning a lot. So I think I'm just nervous that someone's going to think I'm going to do these miraculous things, and hopefully I do. But if I don't do everything they're expecting, I just don't want to disappoint them in the end. I hope they're happy with the final product and with the experience.
Okay, so maybe because this is my first year mentoring, I think this is a classic fear that all of us have, that what if nobody is submitting to me? You know, what if my wish list is a little bit too specific? But actually, yeah, a lot of people say, me, don't worry too much. I think the problem will be you have too much submission, but crossing my fingers that I will find the ones.
Jason, you want to go next?
Yeah, I think the biggest fear that I have most of the time is that when I'm reading the manuscripts and when I fall in love with the particular story, I'm always hoping that the person that I'm working with is going to share that vision that I have for making the manuscript better. And because I'm so bitterly vicious about endings and about the endings being a product of the story and all that, I've always been terrified that someday I'm going to pick somebody and we're just not going to get along at all. And in the end, I'm not going to be able to help them. So.
Everybody has pretty much said what I've been thinking. I really was, the fear would be that I wouldn't steer the novel in the right direction. Different ways a novel can go, and having that right vision. So I guess my fear is that I wouldn't be picking that right direction, ultimately make the story what it needs to be.
And honestly, I mean, this is my third year too, and I still worry that I'm not going to get submissions. I hope that makes you feel better for, the hopefuls watching. We're as nervous as you are sometimes. So, I mean, we're all just people on the other end, just like you. Our next question comes from FS Lynch, and that is, one last polish on the MS before PitchWars. Should I deepen character arc / content, or work on grammar and sentence structure? Does anyone have any insight on revising for this person that they might want to interject? Not everyone volunteer at once. Natasha.
Go with the story, because grammar can be fixed, and if there's a fantastic, I don't want 1,000,001, typos or anything like that, but if this is your final polish, I'd be more worried about the story itself and the arc and everything like that to make sure it's a solid story, as opposed to, fixing, a misplaced comma or something like that.
Anyone else have thoughts on revising?
Yeah, I'm on the opposite end of the spectrum. I want to see that you've polished the thing. I mean, story and character arc, those are things that we can work on and deepen and change. But if I see you've got a crap ton of grammar errors and stuff like that, that tells me you don't love your manuscript well enough to edit it a whole bunch of times. So why should I?
Sorry, my computer's a little slow. To tap onto it, you've got just a cut at this point, and can without full novels in just a few weeks. But I would say if you're coming down to that wire, to really take an overview, you know, do a read through, clean up whatever you can in that process, see what's going to happen, because different little areas you can get with, you know, see that overview, and that overview is going to be, you know, a little bit of the plot, a little bit of that grammar, to your mentors that package deal of what they're going to get with you.
All right. Actually, I was just have this thought that if you want to do any revising, just make sure that you can finish it on time. Don't try to do something that's really huge and then later on you end up making a mess of the whole thing. If you wanted to deepen the character arc, you need to see whether can I finish it on time? Will it be in time for the submission period? Just make sure that you can submit it on time.
All good advice, guys. So, okay, our next question is one of my favorites. And it comes from Twitterland from Lynn Goodpaster. Question for adult mentors. What dream manuscript would you like to see submitted to you? Like if anything could fall into your computer and it's your dream thing to mentor, what would it be? I see Sarah smiling. I think we should start with you, and let's all answer this.
Okay, so I write high heat romance. I want something that is going to make me blush, like seriously. And it's pretty hard to do at this point. So try your best. And no romantic suspense. Know the difference between romance and romantic suspense. So know what you're writing.
I think for me, one of the big things I put in my wish list, I would really, really love to see something that's like the TV show This Is Us. Something with a whole lot of heart and a whole lot of family dynamics in there. Something that'll make me laugh, something that might make me cry. Like I really want something with a strong emotional core. Like for me, that's what I want in my books.
Okay, so basically I'm hoping for a great literary mystery, and I want to see dark secrets. I like flawed characters. I don't like characters that's too perfect. They must have a good and a bad, something like, even if it's the antagonist, he can't be just all bad. There must be a good side of it. And yeah, I'm looking for a lot of diversity in my in the manuscripts that I'm going to see.
So what I really want to see this year is I want to see dark science fiction that explores the meaning of what it is to be human in an age when so much around us is changing. And I want it to have a killer voice that has me read your opening pages and immediately say, I have to read more. And at every point through the manuscript, I want to just be sitting there going, I'm not even realizing I'm reading. I'm just drowning in this world that you've created that is so awful and questionable and morally gray.
I do love a little bit of everything, but one of the things that I'm really passionate about is showing actually different disabilities in romance, because there's not a lot of that out there. And I was very fortunate that that's the one I fell in love with last year. So I'm certainly hoping I'm going to see more positive romance characters again. But I'm also just excited to see everything and to find this me not want to put my Kindle down.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of like Laura. I like everything, and it's very hard to kind of pinpoint what I want to see, because I almost don't want to, because I kind of want to see everything that has great voice and dynamic characters. I love anti-heroes and you know, just some dark, edgy stuff. I mean, it's pretty much on my wish list what I want to see. So if you think you've got it, I'd love to see it.
I would love to see, going with what Laura said, I'm really hoping to get submissions that deal with diversity of all kinds. There's such a need for it, and I want it. Specifically at the top of my list was about body positivity, dumpling for adults, and with a very sweet, sexy romance included with that. I would just be so super happy. On the women's fiction side, I would love a complicated family dynamic, secrets revealed, all that good stuff. Going with what others said, make me laugh, make me cry. I love books that take place in the restaurant industry, bakeries, and all of that kind of fun stuff too.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. So while we're talking about submissions, I know that a lot of Mentee hopefuls are curious about that query and those opening pages. We always hear like a lot of what everyone wants to see, but what is your pet peeve that you really don't want to see in that submission? And let's start with Natasha.
So I've said this quite a bit. I don't like prologues disguised as chapter 1 with all the backstory. If it's backstory and the inciting incident is coming much later, then it's probably better to disperse it, because I know people get scared of putting prologue because, you know, so people are against it. But if you just slap chapter 1 on it, it's still kind of a prologue that's backstory. So I'd rather get into the action, get into the story without all the backstory before.
I am going to say almost the same thing as Natasha. Prologues are super hard to do, and a lot of times they come across as just an info dump in the beginning. So, okay, this is everything that you need to know beforehand. And that's not really its purpose. Going along with that, telling, not showing in the opening pages. You have such little space. That's where you have to knock it right out of the park in the beginning. And there's no absolute hard rules, but as a whole, you know, I don't like seeing the cliches of waking up from a dream or looking outside to open up your manuscript. So just pack a punch in those first pages.
Let's see, so along with cliches, the big one that I've seen is waking up in somebody else's bed and not being sure how you got there. I'm really looking for something with a deep point of view. So make sure that you have a really good, solid point of view and that it comes across in probably the first 2 or 3 pages, because that's definitely what will continue me reading.
I'm going to start with query, since everyone else seems to be talking about first pages. In query, one of my big pet peeves is questions. Don't ask me a rhetorical question, because then you're going to send my brain thinking about the answer to that question instead of thinking about your story. So I think in queries, the best thing to do is really be very specific about what your story is, who your characters are, and what they want. Leave all the rhetorical questions out of it, because it's not going to help your case. I don't like just really detailed description of the place without the character, because I want to get to know the character first. So don't focus on things that aren't as important in the first paragraph. Give me what I need to know immediately to get me hooked into your story.
I'll be like the opposite of most people, because actually I don't have any pet peeve in query or first page. And actually, to be honest, my debut novel that's coming out next year, it opened with somebody waking up from a dream. When I wrote it, actually, I didn't know this was supposed to be a cliche, but I still kind of like it. And yeah, that didn't stop me from getting an agent. That didn't stop me from getting publishers. So there's no pet peeve. As long as you can do it, if, I mean, to me, you can just start a novel with waking up dreams, no problems. It's prologue, no problems. As long as it works. I think the keyword is as long as it works.
Okay, so for me, your query could be written by a rabid pangolin who's having a convulsion on the keyboard, and I'm still going to read your opening pages. But for the opening pages, particularly with science fiction and fantasy, I don't want to see a prologue. If you do a prologue, you'd better have 2 killer first chapters, in essence. And plus, with the prologue, generally speaking, I've spent this whole prologue getting attached to a bunch of characters I will never see again, and I don't need. Don't give me 10,000 pages of info dump. Engage me with your voice and with your world. Give me a glimpse of what's unique about your world and unique about your characters, so that I end it and I go, I have to know more about these characters. I have to know more about this world.
Query, one of the things, I'm not going to say necessarily turns me off in a contest like this, you know, give me a crap query if that's what you got. We can work on it later. But if there's a lot of info dump in the query itself, that kind of pulls away from the story. A query is a very short, concise space to get a glimpse at what's going on, and we don't want a lot of that extra stuff bogging it down. As for the first pages, one of the things that gets me, I'm starting verbs and we're only on page 1, that to me is going to be a sign that the story isn't quite ready to get to this part yet. And I'm somebody who I really want a page that's going to jump out at me, and weak writing can kind of take away from that voice a little bit.
Thanks, guys. So our next question comes from Ern Pendragon, and is, what kind of protagonist and antagonist do you get passionate about? Melissa, do you want to share your thoughts on this?
Sure. I love the idea and the completion of a undesirable, unlikable character redemption. Somebody that you don't think is redeemable, and then through the course of the novel, they do. And that's hard to do. I did it in my last book, and it was super difficult, but it's so satisfying in the end.
For me,
sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Okay. For me, one of the things that I really like is when you have kind of a character, you know, somebody who's something that's kind of bogging them down in their lives, and something that you really want to root for them to, and things I absolutely love when you can get this character and you just want to see them follow through with that journey, happy on the other side.
Okay, for me, actually, I feel a lot of passion for protagonists that have some issues with him or with her. Someone who is not perfect. For example, I think a good example for this is Jay Gatsby from The Great Gatsby. I think I can feel a lot of feels for him. It's like he's very tormented on the story, and yeah, basically, this is the kind of protagonist that I'm looking for. Someone who is not perfect.
Jason, did you have thoughts?
So for antagonists, I really like to see the antagonist who, in their own mind, is completely justified by what they're doing. We always say they're the hero of their own story. I'm okay with them being vicious, horrible, awful, irredeemable people, as long as the way that they got there was the process of where they really felt like they were justified. For heroes or heroines, I really want to see that moment when that person changes, where the course of the novel has changed, has broken them down to the point where they can make that change, let go of what they've had, and go after that final reward, you know, that's going to cost them everything. So
Awesome. Any other thoughts on antagonists and protagonists? Anyone? Okay. Our next question comes from Tina S. Sanipur. I apologize if I butcher anyone's name. Sincerely apologize. Mentors on the live feed. What 3 words would you use to describe your mentoring style? And let's start with Melissa.
3 words that describe my mentoring style. Honest, sympathetic, and funny.
Sarah, would you like to go next?
Sure. So I'll make this short. I'm not going to use 3 words, but I will give you guys a little bit of a story. I used to be a counselor, and I was a pretty bad counselor. I will admit to that, because I don't like to hear about people's feelings. I'm very proactive. Like, I want to know what you plan to do about it. I want to see what your goals are and what your to-do list is going to be to fix it. That's me.
Okay, basically for me, actually, oops, sorry. Okay, sorry. Actually, basically for me, I'm looking for collaborations. So it's not a one-way thing. So it's not that when I say something, you must do it. It's supposed to be discussions. And we are looking for a lot of clarifications. What kind of story do you really want to tell? And I hope that I can help you to do that kind of, to actually bring out what you really wanted to say. And of course, lastly, I think I want to make it fun for all of us. Yeah, so the word is collaborative, clarifying, and fun.
So for me, if I had to describe my mentoring style in 3 words, I would say it's passionate, honest, and somewhat vicious, because I care so much about the books that I choose to mentor that I'm going to work over every single detail of them in an attempt to make them the best that I can, as long as it still fits in with the vision that the author has for the book.
My 3 words. I'd say compassionate. I'd say honest, because what's the point of they're not going to be honest with you? And the last one, just kind of say, I guess, cheering, because I do that a lot in my comments.
I think for me, my 3 words would probably be collaborative, which I don't want to scare anybody, but that's the whole point of PitchWars. And hopefully fun. It should be an enjoyable experience and get something really great at the end of it.
Awesome. Well, we are halfway through the show, and which, as you guys know, if you've been watching the other shows, it's time to talk about my favorite thing, Writer's Life Apparel. I don't know if you could check them out yet. There's also an extra mentor game going on. I think you only have like 2 hours left to enter, and all you have to do to enter for extra mentors is to reply to that post on my Twitter feed with a screenshot of the one piece of PitchWars swag you like the most. And if you happen to purchase a PitchWars swag item, a percentage of that goes towards making the community better. I don't know if you guys noticed, but we've been adding a lot of great stuff this year, from webinars to the new forum, and we just launched the new website. Awesome things are happening. So go check out Writer's Life Apparel. Our next question is mine, actually. You know, writing is hard, and I feel like it's even harder when you put yourself out there, and there's a lot of rejection out there too. What is your one piece of advice for a writer trying to make it? Let's all answer that, and let's start with Susan.
Okay, sorry, I'm making sure I'm unmuted. I think my biggest piece of advice for handling rejection is let it affect you for a couple minutes. It really sucks, but it's a part of being a writer. So let it be bad for a little bit, and then move on. Go do something that makes you happy. If it's jumped and making a change, go do that. If it's ignoring your manuscript and put it in and then you can read a book or watch a movie, go do that too. But don't let it get you down. You're going to face rejection your whole career. And that's just a fact of life. Everybody's different. They like different things. So don't dwell on it, just and then let it go.
Okay, my advice will be to never give up. No matter what, never, never, never give up. Basically, I really like this quote from Randy Powell said, if there's a brick wall, it's actually to stop people that don't want it bad enough, and you want it bad enough, so you shouldn't give up. If this is your dream, if this is what you want to do for your life, you shouldn't give up.
So my advice to you is to write the book that you want to write. Don't chase market trends. Do know genre expectations, but write that book that you would write even if nobody paid you to, because odds are they won't. And, you know, write the book that makes you happy. And that way, at least you're happy about it.
My advice would be to be respectful around other social media. You'll see occasionally that responds negatively to an agent rejection or responds negatively to or there's so many different ways that we can be negative because we do deal with such great amounts of rejection. But if you always are respectful and you put out good, then you're also going to get good back. Seeing that come around, and I just think that that's a really good skill to have. You need to think one way to have it.
I would say perseverance is everything. I didn't get an agent until my third manuscript. Some people knock it out first manuscript. Sometimes it takes longer. You have to be willing to roll with the punches. And like others have said, you can digest the painful ones, the rejection, but then you need to let it go. Rejection is always part of the business. And during querying in this, you're just getting a small taste of it. There's still more rejection coming when you enter publishing world. And I think another really important thing you have to remember too is to just never take it personally. If you want to write for fun, for your own enjoyment, to just share with a few people, that's amazing. And that's what brings you joy. If you want to do this as a career and a business, rejection is just part of it. Separating the creative you from the business you is sometimes difficult, but you learn along the way.
I would also like to talk about subjectivity. Like, this industry is so subjective. Just because a manuscript is right for one person doesn't mean it will be right for another person. So if you get a rejection, just keep going. You're eventually going to find that one person who responds to your work. So just keep at it, and eventually you'll get there.
Thanks, guys. I hope you guys wrote down these pieces of advice, or at least, embroidered it on a pillow, because this is gold. Like, plaster that on your wall, because you're going to need to hold on to that kind of encouragement. Fortunately, you can watch all these episodes back on YouTube after they're live. Our next question is from the Twitter feed, which, again, everyone watching, if you have a question burning inside, please hop on Twitter and do #AskMentor, and we will try to get to you. Our current question is, if you receive a manuscript that reads more like a YA and you really love it, would you work with the author to make it adult? Laura, do you have thoughts on that? Go ahead, Laura.
So, true story. I have, in my own writing, received notes that some of my interactions are a little too YA. So it's not something that is completely out of my realm of experience. I guess I'm just a big young adult at heart. But if I had something that I really loved and I saw that it could work well for the adult market, then with the author on that. And a lot of times it could be something as simple as it was for me, which is changing the way some of the characters interact with each other and being a little where that dynamic is in the manuscript. So if I fell in love with it, that would be off.
Yeah, I think along similar lines as Laura, I write both YA and adult books. So sometimes my adult books kind of veer into the YA voice and I have to really pull it back. So if I fell in love with the concept and I thought it would work better as an adult, I would definitely want to, talk with the mentee and see what they wanted to do with it. But I do think it's important to understand your age group and understand what you're writing and who you want to be reading it. I'm not necessarily sure that that's a choice a mentor should be making for you. So think about who you want your audience to be and really what you want your book to be saying to somebody, and whether you want to age it up or age it down. For me, I think that's the most important piece of it is, whatever the author wants to do. If I fall in love with it, I'm happy to help them with it. But really, it's a decision I think they need to make their career to be.
I was going to say pretty much what the other two gals said. If it was something that I really loved and the overall tone sounded slightly younger, veering towards YA, I would consider it. My first two manuscripts were YA before I started writing adult, and there is a bit of a learning curve moving from one to the other. So it could be just a case of that. But it would be something that I would really have to talk to the mentee about as far as changes and stuff like that, because there's a certain dynamic that's different when writing adult over YA. So, and also going along with that, just like was said as well, absolutely knowing your genre solidly. A lot of times, we might see something that says, adult but with YA elements, or YA with adult elements, or whatnot. Just be secure in your genre. And if it's a case of just a younger voice, I would consider it.
Awesome. And I think another thing for people just listening in general, not just those who think their adults sound kind of YA, even though we write these wish lists, sometimes we don't even know what we're looking for till it just comes into our inbox and then we fall in love. Every year I've asked for, I really want a sci-fi, and I've picked a contemporary every single year. Sometimes we just don't know what we want until we see the one. So I hope that helps. Our next question comes from Kat Bakewell, and that is, what do you want your future mentee to know about you and or what working with you would be like? And then I'm going to tack on my own question to that. Why don't we tell the hopefuls what our greatest strengths are as a mentor? What makes you special in that way, and what can you offer someone? And let's start with Jason, and everyone will answer.
So my greatest strength as a mentor is really plotting and fixing plot holes, sharpening the resolution of a story. The thing that I want mentors to know is that if I'm willing to mentees to know is, if I'm willing to take you on as a mentee, it's because I really believe in your story. If you write an awful story, I won't tell you, but I just won't pick you as a mentee, because that would be cruel. The people that I request more from, I request because I want to read the story. And the people that I pick as a mentee, I pick because I believe that you really have a fantastic story to share with people. So I'll be your biggest cheerleader, but I'll also be fairly hard on you as we get it hammered out.
I'm also a plot hole hunter. That's one of the things I love doing, going through manuscripts and where those missing pieces are to help put it together. I also do love revision. I know people oftentimes are scared about it. I've had such wonderful things come from revisions that I love going in and ripping things out of there. As far as working with me, yeah, I'm like everyone else. I can't speak today. Sorry. Like everyone else, I really am a cheerleader. I want to see the work come to where it needs to be, help you take that next step. And that means I'm going to be more than happy to go back and forth with my mentees over popcorn. Not sure about. We can talk it as the right answer is there. So I'm picking you because I love and I have faith in you as an author, and I'm going to be in your court.
It's very similar to what you've heard so far. As a mentor, I'm going to be your biggest cheerleader. If I pick it, I am going to love it. And I will be your biggest cheerleader and your biggest critic. I'm going to push you. I'm going to push you super duper hard. When you think, no, I can't do more of this, I'm going to push you because I'm going to believe in this manuscript so much. I'm going to push you as hard as you could. And I will be cheerleading for you to do that because I will have faith that you can. And I think a strength that I have is I'm all about communication. You don't ever have to be afraid of asking questions, even if you think that it's silly or whatnot. You could ask me whatever you want. I am awake at all kinds of weird hours. You could email me, and chances are I will answer in 10 minutes because I'm always awake at odd hours, and I'm all about communication. I know this is your baby, that you have put so much into this, and I want to respect it. So just know that I want the best for you.
So along the same lines as everyone else, if I choose yours, it's because I really believe in you, and I believe you can do it, and I believe that you have the talent to do it. From a practical perspective, I'm really methodical. I'll do one read and then kind of talk to you about where we should be taking the story arcs and your conflicts and your emotional turning points, and then kind of do the edit from there. And then we'll go back and do a second edit based on your changes. But I like to look at the whole thing beginning to end all at one time and talk about everything together. So just kind of be prepared to look at it as a single vision, not scene by scene.
I think the biggest thing I want my future mentee to know is that I'm going to be really hard on you. And I mean that in the best way. Someone who's going to push you to think out of the box and to do things you don't want to do. And this is what my agent does for me. And every time I get her emails, I'm like, oh, I don't want to read this. It's going to be so hard. But she knows I can do it to give to my future mentee. So I'm going to be hard. I'm also going to tell you all the things I love about your manuscript, so you don't just think, oh God, this is terrible. Why did she pick me? Like, if I pick you, it's because I know you can do the work. I love what you already have, and I want to help you make it better. Kind of one of my biggest strengths as a mentor is I'm super nitpicky when it comes to really tiny details that will throw somebody out of a story. If it's a logical thing or just some random little detail that we changed something 5 chapters ago and now there's this revision that's not working, I'm going to pick up on those types of things. So you'll get lots of questions from me and comments in the manuscript because I like tiny little details to make sure everything's working right.
So if I select your manuscript, that means I really fall in love with it. So basically, I want the best for you. I want the best for your manuscripts, and I'm going to do the best for it. And as I mentioned before, the mentoring style is going to be very collaborative. It's not going to be a one-way street, and the final decision will be with you. In terms of strength, I think the strength, my strength will be on logic. I'm a very logical person, so I will look at all the tiny details to make sure everything works together. And after the mentorship, it's not going to stop there. I hope we still can be friends forever, you know, to give you encouragement forever. And if you have any questions, even after the mentorships, like for example, on the agents or on the publishing side, I'm so happy to help you. So I hope that this is going to be a lifelong thing.
Sorry, my computer was fun for a second. Okay, our next question, guys, is from Tina Eisenpour on Twitter, and it's words of wisdom for how to balance writing and full-time day jobs. Laura, would you like to start with that?
I'll tackle that one. Not only do I have a day job, but I also have a 7-year-old, so there's a lot going on, and basically it boils down to sacrifice. If I were to move this camera, you'd see that this room is a mess, and so is the rest of my house. Really, it's a hard juggle. There's no ways around that, and you just have to find your time, find your ability to get some writing out. I used to write a lot late at night, and then I had a kid. I'm tired late at night, so I steal time whenever I can, and some days it's not going to happen, and that's okay. You just have to take one day at a time, and if the house looks like a tornado hit it like mine did, well, then.
So I have a full-time job and 3 kids that live at home and 1 I just married off. So I know a little bit about that. The stories I write are the type that I generally can't sleep while I'm still writing them. So I tend to write at all crazy hours of the night, and I get up early and I stay up late. But after that draft is done and it's and that inability to sleep is gone, steal time anywhere you can get it. I take my phone with me. I have Scrivener on my phone. I have a notepad. I have everything, and you can scribble down 100 words or 25, and you have to live with the fact that some days you're just not going to be able to write.
Yeah, for me, I also have a full-time job, but I do not have kids at home. So when I'm home, I don't have as many distractions as some of the other mentors. But I think for writing, it's all about time management. If you want to make writing a career, you have to make time for it. And like Laura said, if the house is dirty, the house is dirty. And that's a lot of what my house is right now. So just make sure you set aside time to do it. And if you can't get to it one day, that's fine. But don't let too many days go by without sitting down and doing something. Even if it's thinking about the book while you're in the shower and jotting down notes. I have one of those really awesome little notepads in the shower that you can write with. And I get a lot of stuff done early in the mornings just by thinking about my book. So just figure out what works best for you, how you can balance your time to make it happen, and let yourself off the hook when it's not going to happen that day.
So I also have a full-time job, and I find the easiest way to dedicate my time is to go to the library or a coffee shop and get away from the house, get away from work if I can, and just write. I also kind of give myself a time. I only have an hour to an hour and a half time limit, and I find that with more practice, I get more words in. So I started out, with 500 words in an hour and a half, and now I'm at 2,000 words in an hour and a half. So the more you practice, the more you dedicate that time to it, the better you'll get and the faster you'll get.
Okay, I guess I'm very blessed here because I'm writing full-time. This is my full-time jobs. Yeah, but I have 3 kids and they're quite young, 6, 4, and 1. So to be honest, I used to be a banker, and the banking job is nothing compared to taking care of the kids. It's so busy. Yeah, basically for me, my most of the time I write when I send them to school, I drop them at school, and then I just find a corner and then do my own writings, and then I pick it up at school. I sort of give up trying to write when they're around, unless sometimes I bribe my husband to take care of them. Okay, my best advice would be when you are actually doing something. For example, if you're waiting for the bus or you're waiting for your trains, doing your groceries or just washing dishes, try to think about what you want to write. So when you're actually sitting down, you're actually writing and not thinking. Because if you're sitting down and you're still thinking, that's going to take a lot of time. So basically think about it first. When you sit down, you have to write.
Can I just say I am so glad I'm not the only one with a messy house. This just really validated my entire life, so thank you. I'm not an adult mentor, but I wanted to say that I stupidly thought that when I had decided to quit my job to stay home with my toddler, that I would have more time to write. And I have exceedingly less time to write somehow magically. So time management is a real struggle, and I hope you find comfort in knowing that we all have to do magical maneuvers to get that to happen. We are coming up to the end of the hour. If we didn't get to your question on Twitter, we can go on the feed and answer it there. Our next question, our last question, will be this. What is the one piece of advice that you wish, well, not advice necessarily, but what's the one thing you wish you knew before you started your writer journey? Whether it's something that took a while for you to learn, or, you know, it's just something you were naive about. And let's start with Sarah.
I thought that I would get an agent and I would get a book deal and then I would get all this money and it would be great. And then I realized that no, I'm still doing my daytime job, and I basically am a small business owner as well, trying to promote and sell my work. So be aware that there's a business component. It's not just writing fantastic stories all the time.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. Having 2 full-time jobs, my regular day job and now my writing job, that is pretty hard. I also think everyone kind of expects things in publishing to happen really quickly, because for some people it does happen quickly, and for a lot of people it takes years and multiple manuscripts, and some people multiple agents before they get a book deal. So don't get discouraged if it takes you forever and other people are happening, you know, it's happening to them super fast. Everybody has their own journey, and just do what you need to do to make your books the best they possibly can be, and try and learn how to wait. Patience is huge as a writer, and it's really difficult when you're in the middle of it. But yeah, I think just knowing how long it takes for everything is going to be key.
Okay, actually, to be honest, I wish I know that publishing is very, very, very slow. The timeline is just different from the rest of the words. Basically, when I quit my banking job, I thought, oh, I'll just give it 1 year and see whether it works or not. But I mean, to complete my first manuscript, actually, I took 2 years. And then I took like 8 months to get an agent. And then by the time my book published, actually, it's going to be 5 years. So I wish I knew that it's going to be slow, you know, give a better expectation. But well, I'm still here, I'm still hanging on. So yeah, never give up.
So what I would say is that you should know that if you're writing, you are a writer. I always thought that at the next stage, I would finally feel like I was actually a real writer. When I completed my book, when I had an agent, when I had a book deal, when I had a series, when I had another book deal. And, you know, there'll always be a little voice in your head that says, you're fake, you're not a writer, you're not. If you got up and you wrote words, you're a writer. That's all you need to know.
Everybody's bringing up points. I think I'll focus on stuff a little bit further back before the book deal. Everything else is when I started writing, I was writing alone. Writing is not really a solitary sport. It is something that involves a community. It involves having other people read your feedback and learning and growing and everything else. And I did everything pretty much all alone for 10 years. And I didn't go anywhere for 10 years. It was when I started to connect with other writers that made a huge difference. If you're watching this, you've probably already figured it out. But I know I saw on the boards a question about being afraid to share work. And it is scary, but it's the most rewarding thing you can do is share your work with someone else and grow from that.
I wish I would have known to not compare myself to others in the community that are doing the same thing at the same time as you. Everybody is going to move at a different pace, and like the other mentors said, it moves slowly. So you may have a friend in the community that will query a few times, get an agent, and sell their book the next month. It happens. You will see it. As I said before, it took me 3 manuscripts, several revisions before I got an offer from my agent, and so forth. So not comparing yourself to others and judging your worth as a writer by how fast or how slow the journey is going for you. Take your time. Don't be in a rush. You just work on the best story that you possibly can. I know for myself even, there was a tendency to rush through a manuscript and think that it was ready and start sending it out. You only get one shot. Take the time you need. It means something to you, and don't rush. Just know that when it's your time, it'll be your time.
Thanks, guys. Well, that brings us to the end of the hour. I hope you all enjoyed PitchWars Live and getting to know these awesome mentors. If you have more questions, shoot them to us on the hashtag or even hit us up personally. And thank you, mentors. You guys are awesome. And I definitely felt encouraged and learned a lot from you. And I love PitchWars. Have a good night, everyone. We will see you next week for more PitchWars Live.